Today's episode zooms in on a defining shift we're seeing across the industry. Artificial intelligence in telecoms is no longer theory. It's here. It's being built, deployed, and monetized. And at the center of this transformation is the power of partnerships. Today, we're going to speak with Nvidia and Dell. Welcome to Season 10 of The Great Indoors, where we continue to explore cutting-edge innovations shaping the world of connectivity, technology, and customer experience, all through the unique lens of human impact and meaningful change. I'm your host, Matthew Roberts, and as ever, I'm joined by Larissa Yee, my producer. So as I mentioned there at the beginning, we're going to have some partners on us today here at MWC Barcelona 2025. First, we're going to sit down with Mr. Chris Penrose, the Global Head of Business Development for the telco vertical at Nvidia. And Chris is no stranger to telecoms. He's had 30 years at AT&T, and he now leads Nvidia's work with global service providers, bringing AI, accelerated computing, and most recently, agentic architectures into every layer of the network. Now, Nvidia is, of course, a blockbuster name at the moment, and it isn't just a player in this space. They're a pivotal strategic partner to Amdocs, helping to turn vision into implementation. So we're going to have a good talk about everything that they're doing with us. And also, here at Barcelona, we have a fantastic experience zone with Nvidia on the booth that's been a real hit at the show. Then we're going to welcome back Jillian Kaplan from Dell. This will be her fourth appearance on the show, and she always sports her Great Indoors woolly hat merchandise. She's a true ambassador, brand ambassador of this podcast. Now, Jillian leads AI and infrastructure product and partner marketing, and she brings in fantastic energy and insight that we've just got used to. We've come to expect it from her. So we're going to discuss Dell's AI factory for telecom, their growing collaboration with Amdocs and Nvidia, and how purpose-built, partner-driven solutions are changing the game. So Jillian also shares how AI is powering predictive maintenance, energy optimization, and new enterprise services for telcos. So if you're looking for real-world AI, real momentum, and real partnership in action, this is the episode for you. Buckle up, let's get started. So welcome back to The Great Indoors. This is MWC 2025, day one. Really excited about our next guest. He's joining us from Nvidia. It's Mr. Chris Penrose. Chris, welcome.
Thank you so much for having me today.
Yeah, and joining me is my co-host for today, Mr. Avishai Sharlin, who needs no introduction and is his own star in the world of podcasting as well. So
thank you for having me.
Yeah, it's great to have you back. So let's get into it. So Chris, welcome. Give us a bit, if you will, a bit of your history and your role at Nvidia right now.
Absolutely. So I joined Nvidia about 3 years ago as the global head of all business development for the telco vertical. So my job is really, how do I work with telcos around the world to help them adopt accelerated computing, adopt AI and generative AI to both transform their operations, make new revenues, and ultimately build next generation networks. I spent 30 years at AT&T prior to that, so long telco guy, and it's been fun to be on the other side, kind of going back to the telcos to figure out how we can help use these technologies to make a big impact on the way they operate.
Cool, excellent. Now we are in a spectacularly exciting world right now, and it's fair to say you're at one of the most prominent, exciting companies in the AI space that we're all getting excited about. So what trends are you seeing? Sort of 2.5 years since ChatGPT turned the world around. What trends are you seeing right now in the generative AI space?
Yeah, so I think what we're seeing is we're moving away from just doing POCs to really moving into production, right? And that's where the big benefit's obviously going to come. I think we're also seeing this move toward a term called agentic AI, right? And it's how can we create these agents that are specialists in their domains and in their capabilities and be able to really solve important problems in an agentic way. And now we're seeing reasoning coming on top of that and actually invoking many agents, right? And so this ability to now begin to stitch together multiple agents to work together to solve a problem, kind of this next big wave we're seeing, and really putting reasoning behind this is what we're seeing right now.
Okay, awesome. Now, question for Avishai. We see the Nvidia brand on the booth. How important is it to Amdocs, the partnership and the alliance that we have with Chris and Nvidia?
Very important. First of all, as rightfully you've mentioned, Nvidia is the number one player in this domain, and we are very pleased and honored to be partners of theirs. Recently, we visited their offices, so this teaming is not just about us signing an agreement. It's about, I would call it more than it's a friendship. It's going together to solve the biggest problem the industry is facing today. In some cases, we have challenges, and like true partners, we overcome them. We're using a lot of their technologies. We're sharing, we're exchanging thoughts. So it's an imperative part of our Gen AI strategy.
Okay, awesome. Now, Chris, we did some research on you, and we see that you have a marketing background and storytelling background, which is great. If you had to tell the story of Nvidia, what would you say?
NVIDIA overall?
Nvidia overall. And by the way, I have a history in my previous roles of working with Nvidia when I was in the handset world.
There you go.
Yeah,
we spent a little time in that space. Yeah, so NVIDIA was born out of the gaming industry, right?
Yeah.
It started with how can we create these graphic processing units to be able to accelerate the gaming experience. And what has happened over the course of the last 30 years is we began to look and see how can that technology be used in new and innovative ways. And we really began to see this begin in the kind of the 2010s being applied in the AI space. AlexNet and the idea of actually doing vision analytics in a way that's the most performant that had been out there was really a big piece of that. And then we continued to invest as a company in saying, what do we need to do to work to make the most out of the opportunity for AI to be widely adopted around the world. And Nvidia is a developer company at its core, right? We really work with developers, we work with research institutions, and we are trying to create the platforms and the tools that others can take and put together into amazing solutions. And so we saw that again happen with OpenAI. We created a foundational computer that was designed to do this whole work around large language models, and we brought that and hand-delivered that back in 2017 to be able to make that happen. And then several years later, we all know what happened with ChatGPT. So I think we really are always focused on how can we find ways to accelerate, take difficult problems, accelerate and use them use our GPUs to make them highly performant, highly effective, and ultimately we are now applying this across every single vertical, right? So I have got responsibility for the telcos, but as a company, we're very deep in all the top verticals, and we look inside that vertical and say, how can we apply our technology for the betterment of that vertical?
I was going to say, Avishai, can you do that storytelling for Amdocs? But I know that story already. So the question to both of you, and we'll start with you, Avishai. We talked about where we are right now, moving beyond the stage of POC and rapid implementation across the telecoms industry. In 12 months' time, in relation to this partnership, where will we have journeyed to, as it were?
I'll start with Chris's example about how Nvidia grew from being a gaming company, and who would believe that 12 months after, it became Gen AI greatest engine in the market. I think we're in the same point, more or less. We all understand where we're at now. Not sure we know what will happen in the next 12 months. In that sense that the speed of change is so fast and there are so many things coming. So I can only imagine about where we can find ourselves in 12 months. But if I need to speculate, it will be obviously around the next generation of engines coming from Nvidia with more power and more capabilities. The agentic era, as Chris alluded, will go into production. You'll see more and more customers moving into embracing agents in various shape and forms. You'll see Gen AI coming and becoming part of our daily life, not just necessarily in the telco domain, but in other areas. So I think it will see a broader spread of this technology all over the place in almost everything we do.
Okay. And same question to you, Chris.
Yeah, so I think we really love this relationship with Amdocs because they understand this telco domain. with incredible depth. And that's a big piece of being able to be very successful in applying these technologies, is having that deep technical expertise in the domain that you're applying it to. They've also been really a leader in thinking through this whole agentic approach. And so we're very excited because we do bring out a lot of technologies, and we need early folks to work with us on some of these technologies. And we were really truly engaged at that engineering level to figure out how can we apply these technologies, what tweaks do we need to make in order to make them work as well as we can to really drive meaningful outcomes. I think the other piece is that to truly scale this up, it has to be a hardened telco grade solution, right? And I think that's another big piece of this is Amdocs as a platform is a trusted platform in this environment. And when we're going to go and now put this out there and we've got 30,000 agents working with it, or we begin to take it directly to an end consumer, the end consumer is interfacing with it, or the business is interfacing with it, there's a level of expectation that comes along with that, and not only the performance, but the security and everything about the way you run these things. And again, Amdocs is a company that is trusted in this domain to be able to do that type of work. So again, what I'm hoping we're going to see is a lot more adoption of some of the early agents that we've collaborated on, but also the bringing together of, I think Avishai's team has announced a new network agent here at the show. So we've got a great care agent, we have a billing agent, but we also, how do we tie that off with the care agent, tie it off with the network agent, and all these guys, everyone's working together. And even after that, but maybe to a sales agent to say, we solved the problem, can we actually offer you something new? So I think this ability to really work together to define that agentic future, I think we're going to lay some really good groundwork this year where we're going to see, I think, a lot of adoption as we go into next year.
Cool. Now, you mentioned at the beginning there, you have a long history in telecoms, Chris. How transformative is this all going to be, given what you've witnessed in your career to date?
Yeah, so again, I would say even inside of Nvidia, when I ask the question, because the new Nvidia, and how fast is this technology moving? And they will say this is the fastest technology adoption curve and the largest technology change that Nvidia's even seen. So hearing that from the inside, from a telco perspective, it's a massive change. And I think what's exciting about it is that it can apply to every part of the business, right? There's obviously the places where many of people started off, and customer care is a big place where people begin to look to start, network operations, and just general employee productivity. But there's literally not a single part of the business, from marketing to legal to supply chain. Every part of the business can be impacted by this technology. And I think telcos are looking for a way to become not only the most efficient and performant on that front, but also how do they also create new revenue streams, right? And so there's a whole new wave. And another place where we've been collaborating with Amdocs around this idea of creating these sovereign AI factories that we can begin to offer GPU as a service, training as a service, inferencing as a service, and a bunch of AI services into the marketplace. And we're beginning to see that wave really begin to take off around the world as a new opportunity to drive monetization. So that's really the next big thing.
And this is a question for both of you. When we look at some of the technology advancements we've seen, particularly at this show over the last few years, and that things have come and gone, and today we've been talking about IoT, we talk about 5G, we've even talked about 6G, but to me they're not standalone. There's a symbiotic relationship with all of these technologies. How do you believe AI and generative AI can propel all of those things collectively together?
Very meaningfully. I think that Gen AI, it's quite clear to all of us, is going to impact every field on its own. The beauty around it, I think, is what's going to happen next, meaning that after you will embed, it's like a generation of something maturing into a market. So we all started with, quote unquote, the co-pilot experience, something that you can ask a question, a very simple question, and then it became more and more sophisticated. And then we went into the agentic area. This cross-pollination is the next thing that will happen. So different agents from different fields will start to interact one with the other. And I believe they will create a new wave of innovation, a new wave of things that will come that we cannot necessarily know or even think about And those will create the next wave of things that will happen. So if we can see that IoT matches 5G, matches 6G and stuff like this, suddenly we'll see different integration points and possibilities that the agents will create. And this will be the very meaningful, I think, next generation of innovation and impact on the industry.
Yeah, I'd say a couple things I'm seeing in this space right now today. I mean, back when I was doing IoT, AT&T, I actually talked about video camera as being one of the ultimate IoT sensors, right? That was something I was talking about back before 2020. And now kind of the next big wave is this ability for you to now talk to your video camera in natural language, ask what's going on, and get real-time feedback. So now you have this ability to interact with every sensor out there through just a conversation. You're seeing the next big wave we're talking about is something we call physical AI. So you think about the whole robotics and autonomous vehicles and all these, and even buildings. How are these all going to be really driven off of a different type of large language model, which is not speech-based, but it's actually vision-based, and you're teaching robots on how to learn their craft by looking at video and that type, and also understanding the physics of that world. So that's really, so Nvidia announced a new model called Cosmos. It was a foundation model to be able to do that type of work in physical AI. And then I think the other final piece is just really the AI, the same infrastructure that's being put out as we look toward 6G. And there's all this discussion about AI RAN and AI for the RAN, and how do we make the networks even more performant with the use of AI and co-locate the opportunity to serve the RAN and all these other AI workloads on common infrastructure, right? So that is definitely the next really big wave that we are seeing happen here. And we've got some really exciting things we're beginning to see, like the spectral efficiency being able to be improved 20, 30, 40% by applying AI algorithms into the network. So if we can keep making the network more performant, more efficient, and a better experience, while also offering telcos the opportunity to drive new monetization and fully utilize that computer investment, that's kind of where I see it going to the next level.
I would say the only one element that we need to watch out for, maybe not one, but very significant one is the deep fake, or the ability to manipulate the data to create things either in the form of a cyber attack or in the form of something which never happened. And I think we need to watch out for those. So in parallel to the big leap of the industry forward, there will be a lot of ingenuity and a lot of need to make sure that this technology is not doing the wrong things.
Yeah. We talked about it with Globe before, the potential of proliferating misinformation or fake information. So we had a conversation with a philosopher just a few weeks ago who said, well, actually, what I think it's going to do, we go back to human trust, because that's the only way you're going to know, what's real and what's not, and it's to trust the human being behind it all. But he was being very philosophical and deep, and it kind of made me go, ooh. But where do you think, maybe this is a controversial question. I always, as Avishai likes to ask, I always like to ask one controversial question, right? How far are we from artificial general intelligence?
I think not far away. On one hand, I always joke about it, saying it will happen someday, and the minute it will happen, it will be too late for all of us. But I think that if we are conscious enough and we understand that technology is something that can work for the benefits of the greater good of the world, and if we believe that we can harness it for making so many good things, we talked about healthcare, we can speak about education, we can speak about many fields that are untapped today. Even with today's technology and stuff, there are still many pockets of illiteracy, of people that have no medical assistance. And those technologies can come into aid and change completely their life. So while saying all the good things, obviously there are the things that we need to contain and make sure that they are not being utilized in the wrong way. My strong belief is that it's coming. We are on a verge, as I said, of something very big that will change humanity, but in a good way.
Yeah, and it's definitely moving. It continues to accelerate faster and faster. I don't have a definite date that it's going to be here, but again, even if you just look at some of the most recent developments around some of the reasoning models with DeepSeek, I mean, this is the fact that there is now an open source model that is at the same caliber as some of the biggest models in the world. That also is going to be a catalyst to be able to do more and more. But I do think that it's really important, and that's why there's a lot of focus right now around how do we make sure that this is being done in a safe and responsible way, because we are the ones in charge of actually bringing this into the market. So we really need to make sure that we're doing all the right things we can do to safeguard it, that we're working with the governments, that we're working with the regulators to make sure that as we put this out, that we're also doing it the best way possible. And that's really important.
And Chris, let me ask you this. Are you seeing things, Nvidia, that make you go, wow?
Every day.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I mean, we're blessed. We've got some of the most amazing and smartest people on the planet that work at NVIDIA. And what I do see is that there's almost any new cutting edge technology is probably being worked on somewhere inside the company. And so every day you'll get, there's also a very much of a sharing culture inside the company to make sure that you can be is exposed to as much of this as you want. So I'm always trying to be a student and learn every single day that I'm at the company. But there's all the amount of new things that are coming out every single day, where our researchers are coming out with a new capability to do something 10 times, 100 times, 1,000 times faster. And there's all these new discussions about, okay, what's the next big thing kind of after physical AI? And there's even discussions about quantum and those types of things. And again, in all these spaces, NVIDIA's got experts that are working to figure out how can we continue to stay at the very forefront of these technologies. And also, we really plug ourselves deeply in to stay close to where it's going to go into research and into those areas that are really pushing the boundaries and making sure that we are helping provide the tools they need to do their amazing research, but also can understand what's happening so we can continue to drive the right outcomes from that. So yeah, like I said, there's not a day that I'm at NVIDIA. There's not something that comes out, you're like, wow, that's pretty amazing.
So it must be a lot of fun.
It is. It's incredible. And you mentioned and it's just every industry. Like my life is the telco space, but just like I've got telco, there's 15 other leaders around the company that are responsible for each of their verticals. And what are they doing? And everything from autonomous driving to healthcare, to manufacturing, to oil and gas, to retail. And every one of these industries their whole job is to figure out how do we apply this technology in those domains to really make an impact.
And it's made me think of something. And for Avishai and yourself, Chris, how fast is telecoms moving versus the other verticals?
That's a good question. You want me to take it to start?
Yeah.
So actually, believe it or not, I actually think telcos are doing a better job in leaning into this more heavily than maybe some other movements. I think part of the reason why is because of the transformative effect it can have for them. They are large organizations. And they need to find ways to both drive the bottom line and drive their cost structures in the best way. But they also need to find ways to make additional revenues, right? And we haven't seen as much revenue lifts off of the last rounds of technology. So I think they're seeing this as both sides of the equation. How can they make themselves as performant as possible, while at the same time, and also deliver the best possible experience for their customers, but then how can they also find ways to do new monetization? Yeah. And because of that, we just released a survey of AI and telecom. When I joined 3 years ago, we actually started the survey, and so this is the third year of it. We just released it right in front of Mobile World Congress, and we're seeing an incredible adoption. I think, again, it was, obviously you're going to have some bias of the people that take the survey, but of the people that took the survey, 97% of them were actually engaged in using AI or generative AI within their business. But I've even seen other studies from other third parties that say telecom is actually one of the ones that's leaning in the most. And I think they could have one of the biggest benefits. So that's my view on it. I think they're doing actually pretty well in leaning into it.
And I think the same question to Avishai, but a slightly different angle. How hungry are our customers in embedding generative AI into their business?
I think they are in several aspects. One, it's an infrastructure play. And I think, after all, they master this domain. They understand how to build a data center, what needs to happen in a data center, how to maintain a data center, what's the software that needs to fall in place. The second thing, it's a growth engine for them because they believe, and we believe as well, and we see it all over the place, that injecting Gen AI into what they're doing, as Chris said, will eventually reduce their TCO or immediately, or will have an impact about the utilization and automation of how they operate. But also, it's a great, I would say, base ground for innovation, which they can fertilize the ecosystem. So they can be the forerunner and everyone will ride on top of them or play with their technologies. And their being in the center of this playground makes them also a vital part of the ecosystem. So yes, I think they are very hungry and they are playing there. And some of them already understood it and some of them on the way to understand it and some of them will understand it. But all of them are part of this, yeah.
Yeah, and I just echoing on that, I mean, I think what I really try to encourage in my conversations with the telcos is that you need to be leaning into this, because if you're not, then what's the other side of that, right?
Yeah.
Because this technology is moving at such a rapid pace. You've got to create these centers of excellence that really are understanding how can this be applied, because if you're not applying it to yourself, others are going to find ways to apply it.
Yeah.
And then to Avishai's point, I mean, I think there's a lot of things that the telcos, they're obviously one of the largest call centers in the world. How do they build applications that are making themselves efficient that they can then turn around and have a right to offer in the market, right?
Yeah.
I think that does, you get both sides of the story there. You say, I'm using it myself, therefore you got a right to offer it, right? So I think that's another big play.
Cool. Well, we're almost out of time. And the way we finish the podcast, Chris, is a quick fire round called TGI to go. TGI to go. And the first question, and you touched on it before, ChatGPT, Gemini Advanced, or DeepSeek?
And the question is?
Which one of those three would be your go-to?
I still... Gosh, that's a hard question for me because we support them all. But I think it depends on what you're actually trying to accomplish. There's different models are better at doing different things.
Yeah.
And so I think it comes down to what do you want to do.
There's a coexistence for sure.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah. No, and just wanted to get your thoughts as well, because you did mention it. The DeepSeek announcement was a shock to some people in traditional Silicon Valley circles. What are your thoughts on it? Was it more a disruption of we talked about it this morning, a disruption of a disruption? Is it more democratizing?
Yeah, I think we see it more in the latter. I think this didn't just come out of the nowhere. It had been being worked on for a while, but I think this idea of really democratizing a reasoning model that is kind of the biggest piece of this. And then I think that we're also seeing this really interesting shift where I don't know that everybody totally appreciated it, but most people thought, well, okay, you have to buy a lot of GPUs to train, right? And then a lot of the business has come from training. But at the end of the day, inferencing has always been the bigger market in the end game, right? You train to actually put it into practice, right? Yeah. And interestingly, what you see with a DeepSeek model, you're kicking off a lot more GPU utilization on a reasoning model than maybe a one-shot question and answer. So actually, we see it as really accelerating the inferencing market and the opportunity to really, again, push the thinking around how can we create more and more models that can then become great and be then put into the marketplace. Yeah. We see it as an accelerant, really, more than anything else.
Awesome. Same question, Avishai.
Yeah, I think I'll try to rephrase the one I gave in the morning. I think the beauty about it is the fact that people created technology and which eliminates almost completely the barrier for entry. And suddenly they saw the outcome of what they've created. This was the shock for the world, that someone can take an open source model of something that cost a lot of money and accelerate it and make it better so fast. Right. And I think this is the beauty about DeepSeek. And for me, this is also kind of a wake-up moment for everyone to see, wow, this can really lead to great things.
Awesome. So next question, a little bit more light. Baseball or football? American football.
I'm a baseball guy. I grew up in St. Louis, and so we're St. Louis Cardinals was really the only team in town. We went through a few football teams, but I'm a baseball guy.
Where do you live now?
I live in Dallas, Texas.
Okay.
So, yeah, I still keep my Cardinals affiliation.
Oh, awesome.
I'll need to go with football because I went into 2 baseball matches, almost fell asleep. Nothing happened, so I'll go with football.
And I live in Canada now, and my 7-year-old son plays baseball.
Yes.
And I'm coaching in the team and I was always very snobby about baseball versus cricket, for example. And I love it. I think baseball's fantastic. My son loves it. It's wonderful. Okay, so you've got some spare time in Barcelona. Would you go and see some Gaudi stuff, or would you go to the Picasso Museum?
I think Gaudi. I think it's just fun to see the different architectures, and you can see them all over the city. But I really like the architecture side of it.
Cool.
Yeah, mine is a combination because I went already to see Gaudi, so I'll go to see Picasso. But if it was the first time, Gaudi was my choice.
Yeah, awesome. Okay. You could go on a beach vacation or a mountain retreat. Where would you go, Chris?
I'm a skier, so mountain is my deal. I love getting out there. It's the one sport we do as an entire family, so I'm all about skiing.
Awesome.
For me, retreat is more of hiking, so I'll go to the place I can walk more, but if I need to rest, on the beach.
There we go. And there's some of the best beaches in Tel Aviv, right? So I think Avishai is spoiled on the beach.
No, he is.
Yeah. And final question. You can have a drink this evening. Would you have a glass of cava or a glass of sangria?
I'm going to go cava. I think that cava is mine.
Sangria for me.
Sangria. All right.
There we go. There you go. I think we've got serving some on the happy hour. It may have finished already, but there we go.
Thank you very
So,
much.
Chris, I want to thank you very much for your time today. It's been an amazing conversation. Thank you again, Avishai. It's a pleasure to have you on with me. And enjoy the rest of the week. Enjoy the show.
Thanks so much for having us. Yep.
That's
Great.
All right.
So I'd like to welcome back, I think this is the third or fourth? The fourth appearance.
I know. We said
Wow.
last time, we were like, this is the big one. It's a trifecta, but here we are again.
Here it is.
What do you call the fourth?
Quad. I'll try. The quad something.
The quad something.
Quad guest.
Quad guest.
Something
Okay.
like that.
Okay.
Quad guest podcast.
I love it. Love it.
See? I'm in marketing.
There you
know?
go. Nice and witty. I love
There we
it.
go. There we go. So I'd like to welcome back for the fourth time, Jillian Kaplan from Dell. How are you doing, Jillian?
I'm good. Yeah, happy
Yeah?
to be here. Day one, always super energetic at Mobile World Congress day one. So
Yes. And how's day one shaping up for you?
good. We're really busy. Lots of good conversations. People interested in a lot of I'd say more specific solutions, which has been kind of a change from where I've seen in years past, where there's more just broad discussions happening. It seems like there's a lot of narrowing down I'm seeing.
And tell us about your new role, because in your other 3 appearances,
Yes.
you were responsible for thought leadership at Dell Technologies.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
And so what's the new...
The new gig, yeah.
Yeah.
So after Mobile World Congress last year, so just a little under a year ago, they asked me to kind of come back into the product marketing realm and focus on our telecom infrastructure.
Right.
And I said, that'd be cool. Yeah, I'm happy to do that. And then with the rise of AI, the job hadn't really existed before, but they said, okay, can you also manage the AI, because the AI is built on our infrastructure. And I also have the partner marketing for all of our Silicon partners, which has been really neat for the Intel's, AMD's, and Nvidia's. So it's been cool because I built all this thought leadership and forward-thinking stuff in my last role. And now, because I have AI in the telecom space, I get to actually see it come to fruition. All the stuff I talked about, I'm now launching.
You're doing a sanity check,
Yeah,
basically.
Yeah, and it's been when I wrote about it 3 years ago, I was like, I think this is what's... Now I'm getting to launch the solution.
Now you're living it. You're living it. Now, I remember last year, you were here with Jared from Nvidia.
Yep.
And we had a good chat. And then you had the brewery demo on the Dell booth.
Yep.
What is it that you guys have got this year? What is it you're demoing? What interesting use cases is going on?
So last September, we launched Dell AI for Telecom, it's now a suite of 20 solutions that are focused on telecom-specific outcomes using AI. So everything from the core to the edge to the RAN and everything in between. And we launched a suite of solutions with Nvidia and then a suite of solutions with Intel. And last week, we launched a suite of solutions with AMD. So we've got all those solutions available, and then we've got some very specific partners, including Amdocs, in our booth showing the solution we have with Amdocs and Nvidia, which is like super awesome. And like I said, people are really interested in talking about the outcomes that these specific solutions build. So it's been really busy and really great.
So we're at that process now. We've gone beyond the POC. We're into real implementation.
Yep.
And it's all coming to life, basically.
Yep.
And tell me about the AI Factory. It's something I keep hearing about all the time.
Yeah, I mean, it's Dell AI Factory in general is a suite of solutions that helps people implement AI from soup to nuts, right? So from building the infrastructure all the way to deployment and services and making sure that they have everything they need to just plug and play the solution. Yeah. And now there's an Amdocs solution together with Nvidia and Dell Technologies that is going to allow, or does allow, telecoms to actually monetize like the investments they're making in their network. So instead of just putting in a customer service AI solution in your network, you can actually monetize it and sell it out as GPU as a service to the enterprise, which is huge for telecoms because if they're going to make investments in their network, they want to be able to not only save costs, but make money as well. So that's become part of Dell AI Factory, is this solution that I think it was 2 weeks ago, the big announcement. So
and there's a big focus on partnerships this year, particularly if you look around the Amdocs booth. It's more than I've ever seen before. But how crucial are partnerships now as we get to that real implementation, show me the money phase of where we are?
Yeah, I think that goes back to people wanting solutions and not just wanting to have broad conversations. You can't build a solution alone, right? So, for example, in our solution, it's Dell, it's Nvidia, and it's Amdocs, right? You've got to have the platform, the Dell platform, you've got to have the right silicon, you've got to have the right partner in order to put it all together and make it work. So I think that it's a necessity. You can't build anything alone. And customers don't want that as much anymore. They want you to make it really simple for them. And the only way you can make it really simple is by having an end-to-end solution and working with people. Like I said, we have 6, same as you guys, we've never had so much partner presence in our booth.
Right.
We have 6 demos that partners are actually staffing in the booth with Dell and their solutions sort of together. That's a first for us.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Wow. I think that's a real key takeaway from this year, the role of partnerships.
Yep.
And it's something we talk about every year. Yeah, it's really important, but it never really, again, it's becoming more real.
Yeah,
right?
for sure. And it's really important for just overall telecom transformation, right? In order to really transform your network, you can't just work with one player.
Yeah.
And if the vendor you're working with is trying to do it in a box, it's going to be very hard for you to transform if you're a telecom.
And so what other partners and what exciting use cases are they bringing to the Dell booth this week? So I saw the brewery one, which was great. And we had beers last year. That was nice. Yeah. Do you have that again?
We don't, but I do have another demo that does involve alcohol because I can't come to Mobile World Congress.
I'm in.
Without some weird alcohol demo. But yeah, I mean, like I said, we have 20 different use cases. We have a lot focused on the data center. I'd say like half of them are data center focused, so things that people can put in their actual network in order to monetize in Nvidia and Amdocs case, but also to improve their own network. So being able to do like predictive maintenance and say, okay, this is going to break, we're going to fix it before it breaks so that our network doesn't go down, because reliability in telecom is incredibly important. And then we also like not just putting stuff in the network, but also being able to monetize at the edge. So putting like our PowerEdge XR8000, for example, which is our really flagship edge server that's ruggedized, and being able to use it with GPUs at the edge to run video analytics at a retailer or something like that, or any sort of like predictive maintenance at a manufacturer, anything like that. So we've really focused on these purpose-built solutions to help the telecoms with their own business, like helping them being able to run their own business better with AI, but also being able to monetize with the investments they're making.
Oh. And what are you expecting? I know we're on day one.
Yeah.
What are you expecting to see this week that might enlighten you or excite you?
I think I'll see more. I feel like we talked about this last year. Like last year was kind of like this pie in the sky AI conversation.
Yeah.
And this year, it's all about the solutions. Like I'm excited to see, I haven't had a chance to walk around yet, but I'm excited to see what other solutions are being put out there, what those partnerships looks like. There's some partnerships that are really surprising because we need to work together in order to get the outcomes that are needed.
And when you say surprise, give me an example.
Oh my God. I can't think of one off the top of my head, but I will say like people are working together that I just wouldn't always expect or haven't worked together in the past.
Yeah.
I'll have to rack my brain for one, but haven't really worked together in the past and now we're seeing it.
I think even last year, Amdocs and Dell, it was the initial stages of the partnership, if I recall.
Yeah, we've always partnered in some way, but this is the first, in the telecom space anyway, that I've seen us really go to market with a press release and a solution and really put the pedal to the metal,
So let's talk about sustainability. And you previously highlighted AI at the edge as a way to reduce energy consumption.
Yep.
Can you share more insights on AI's role in progressing that?
When you talk about AI at the edge, really not having to send all that power back to the data center when you run things in the data center in the cloud is integral for sustainability. But also implementing AI solutions that can help you turn on and off your network at less busy times, turn it down, power it down when you don't need it.
Yeah.
When in the data center, how to reduce that. Like I said, at the edge, it's really implementing it at the edge is what's going to save you the money and the power there. I worked at Verizon for 14 years before coming to Dell, and I was a network engineer for a long time. And I implemented the FiOS program, essentially.
Yeah.
So I started the year the FiOS launched, and so we were putting all this brand new equipment in data centers. And the telecom data centers are massive, right? So we're putting all this fiber equipment in, and someone came to realize that we had all this old copper equipment sitting in there that was still plugged in, but no one was using it. So part of my job became to write SQLs to figure out what was in use, what wasn't in use, and send technicians back to the data center to physically unplug the stuff. It saved like $17 million a year I worked in one state.
Wow.
By like physically unplugging it. But AI can figure that out for you now, right? So you don't need me writing SQLs to figure out what's in use and what's not.
And that's kind of a different, if we go back 12 months when it was, like you said, a lot of pie in the sky, a lot of excitement.
Yep.
People were worried about energy consumption from AI.
Yep.
But
there are solutions for it's a double-edged sword, right? AI consumes a lot of energy. But there's also ways you can use AI to help reduce the energy that you're consuming. Yeah.
And and again, this is a question I'm asking everybody today, because we have moved on from all that hype and excitement from a year ago. You've been in the industry for a long time, a lot of forward thinking.
Yeah.
How exciting is this?
For me, like it's going to be totally different from the way that we've done things in the past. Like I see it as not a small, okay, we're making incremental change. I see it as an overhaul. I see it in the way that I do my work and also that I work with customers. So I think it's making changes in every piece of the business, right? And at Dell, we're putting AI in PCs all the way up to our massive data center servers. So it's really soup to nuts and how it's going to sort of affect the world. So.
And which service providers would you consider as being not fast, but really embracing? And again, I asked this question because we had Nvidia, Chris Penrose on earlier.
Yep.
And he said, well, there's 15 other verticals in Nvidia. I'm looking after telecoms.
Yeah.
And I'm like, how quickly is telecoms moving versus the other verticals? He said, amazingly quick, given. What operators around the world do you think are really pioneering and pushing?
We've seen a lot of momentum in the APJ region. We did a whole project with SK Telecom on like chat agents, LLM chat agents. We have some GPU as a service going on with Lintasarta. It was something they had to build on their own because you guys didn't have your product yet, but also like an Nvidia solution. So we're seeing a lot of momentum in sort of that space that I can talk about, I should say. So those are the two that we can talk about. But
What do you like, other than the great indoors,
yes.
What is it about Amdocs that makes them a good partner?
I think that when you get like three massive companies together and you use the superpowers of a Dell and Nvidia and an Amdocs, like amazing things happen. And it's hard to do, right? It's hard. I guess when you ask what's some unlikely partnership, it's not that I think that our partnership is unlikely. It's just that it's not something maybe you would have seen in the past because it's hard to get three massive engines like that moving in the same direction, right? So I think that's what makes it so incredibly unique is that we can all bring our superpowers together to create one massive superpower.
And there's a clear demarcation in each of the roles of those three.
Yes. Yeah, we're not competing with each other. We're cooperating.
Cool.
Most of the time.
Most of the time. Most of the time.
Yeah.
And so again, I'm going to allow you to go back to your former role.
Yeah.
Looking forward, the pace of things that have happened in the last 12 months, where do you expect things to be 12 months from now?
So I really think that the enterprise edge opportunity didn't materialize the way that we thought. And I see that changing with AI, right?
AI is almost the missing component for the lack of takeoff of other things previously, right?
Yeah, definitely see that. And I see the coming forward of 6G as well as going to make a change in the AI applications. I think that will be talked about more. We were talking about it 3 years ago, and I was like, y'all need to get through 5G first. And I know we're a ways off from implementing 6G, but I think we're almost at the point in that forward looking where we can actually start to talk about it and think about it and have it be more real.
What do you think 6G is going to bring?
I think that we'll be able to do more AI stuff, right? There'll be more AI use cases. And I just see it being integral into advancing those use cases, especially like when we talk about edge applications and running things on a 6G private network versus a 5G one.
Yeah. And I remember a year ago when you were here with Jared.
Yeah.
Is he here this week?
Jared is here. I saw him.
Is he?
Yeah.
You were quite a double act when you did the podcast. You were quite a good
Oh, yes.
team.
Partnering with companies like Nvidia and Amdocs has been like such a pleasure, honestly, like working together and working towards common goals and really getting happy customers out of it because we're able to bring them solutions that solve their problems end to end instead of, oh, we'll give you this part and then call Nvidia, they'll give you this part and then call Amdocs. There's none of that, right? We're making it easy for our customers. Yeah. And it's great because we've developed great partnerships because of it.
Cool. Now, you remember this part of the podcast, the TGI
Is it
to
new
go.
questions?
There's the same questions as last year. I'm just going to test. I'm going to test what preferences have changed.
Okay.
No, they're all new questions.
Okay.
It's interesting. Even though we're only in day one, I try to use the same questions with each guest.
Okay.
And the answers have been pretty interesting.
Interesting.
We'll talk about them in a minute.
I'm interested to see what these questions are if the answers have been interesting.
Okay, here we go.
TGI to go.
If you could use ChatGPT, Gemini Advanced, or DeepSeek, what's your go-to?
ChatGPT. I like the app. Yeah.
But what about the whole DeepSeek thing? What do you think?
Haven't really dove into it. I'm going to be totally honest. I was really busy with launches leading up to this when it came out. But it is, when I get back, it will be something that I definitely look into.
And where are you using ChatGPT now? Again, a question I asked every guest last year was, what are you using ChatGPT for? And I got a different answer from all 25 guests.
I would say...
And I'm trying to recall what yours was. But it doesn't matter. What is it now that you typically rely on it for?
I would say a lot of like inspiration type stuff. If I'm like, oh, I need to think of an idea for blah, 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 like what would make sense for, and everything from work, like, oh, I'm trying to write this blog and I really need like an outline for it so I can get writing, right?
Yeah.
Or, oh, I really need like a great baby shower gift or like something that, some creativity pieces. I'll use it if I'm like, I'm very particular about my social media and the way that I write my posts, so I don't love to use it for, because I feel like it doesn't sound like me.
Yeah.
But I will use it, okay, I'm trying to rewrite this sentence so that it doesn't, I don't love the way it sounds now. So,
Yeah.
I use it for that stuff.
But it's almost like it's becoming a partner, a thought partner.
Yes.
Whereas last year, out of all the 25 answers, I got what some guy would say, it helped me write a Valentine's Day message for, or I wrote a poem that was funny. But you're actually using it in a slightly different way. You're actually bouncing ideas off it as well as
Yes. You know what I really need though?
Wow.
Thinking about future looking, I need it to do, I don't have a lot of access to the tools that do imagery.
So you're using DALL-E off the ChatGPT?
No, I haven't used that.
No?
No,
It's
in there.
Yeah, it's in there.
All right,
Yeah.
I'll have to take a look at it. I've used it for like PowerPoint outlines, and I kind of get some creative, but not like when I put pen to paper, graphic design wise, it looks like my dog did it. Like I'm excited for more, I should say, like better applications of that creative piece.
I even started trying to use that Soros, the video creating tool.
Yeah, there's one with a V that some people at Dell use, but not everyone has access yet. So
there you go.
I need some access.
And you can credit Larissa for this question. Ballet or flamenco?
Probably you don't want to see me draw. You don't want to see me dance either.
Are you going to the Amdocs party tomorrow night?
I don't know if I was invited.
Well, we'll get you an invite.
Flamenco.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Okay, that's good. After this, I know you just came back from Lisbon, but would you rather have a beach vacation or go up into the mountains?
Beach. It's cold in Massachusetts right now. I'm ready for a warm beach. I'll clarify. I don't want to go to Cape Cod right now, but send me to Aruba or something.
But did you guys get a load of snow a couple of weeks ago? We got absolutely buried.
In snow? Yeah. And then we got rain, so then it was just ice on the snow, which is fun.
And do you prefer to work from home, or are you back in the office?
I am a work from home employee. The first time I was on this podcast, I talked about my crash.
Yes,
right? And I have a host of physical issues from that. So working in an office, especially if I don't have access to a gym throughout the day, is just really physically hard for me. So I have a gym set up in my office. So if I have to get up and stretch during the day or do something, whatever, I can do that. So that's where I'm physically the most comfortable.
That's cool.
Yeah.
That's cool. And would you rather go skiing or sailing?
Skiing.
Yeah. Did you go this winter?
I have not been yet. I'll probably go when we get back. I used to go a lot more, and my kid is like hot and cold on skiing, so it's hard. I'm not really a good skier or a good sailor, but in my older age, I've learned you don't have to be good at things to enjoy them.
No, exactly. Well, listen, Jillian, that's your fourth time on. You're a natural. It's seamless. It's entertaining. It's insightful. Do you have any last words for our listeners before we see you for your fifth appearance 12 months from now?
It's so much fun to be on this. It's really great. I should go back and listen to the other, just be like what I thought was coming, and because you always ask what you think is coming. No, I'm excited to see like where our partnership goes, and I'm excited to be able to help our customers really monetize the investments that they're making, because it's incredibly important for them to be able to do that.
Awesome. Well, thank you, Jillian. It's been a pleasure as ever.
Yeah.
Oh, and we've got some new merchandise we need to send you.
Okay, perfect. Because my hat is covered in dog hair now. Perfect.
Awesome. Thank you, Jillian.
Thank you.
So there we have it. What a great episode. Thank you, Chris. Thank you, Jillian. That was wonderful. That was episode 6 of our MWC 2025 series. So we'll be back next week for more episodes recorded live from the show floor here in Barcelona 2025. What a show. So please leave a review, or rate this podcast if you can. It certainly helps us. And if you want to find out more about all our back episodes, look at all our sizzle reels. We've got a new one that represents this MWC series season 10. They're all available on amdocs.com/the great indoors. So please check that out. Anyway, in the meantime, have a great weekend or have a great day. I'm Matthew Roberts for Amdocs in Barcelona. And have a great day wherever you are. See you next week.